The time has finally come. Bunce is officially in a good spot for PvE, and it is also incredibly fun. Mako's Buck here, and today let's go over an endgame Bunce build. If you did not know, December 19th recently brought a massive balancing patch where a lot of weapons and damage types were adjusted to be better. Bunce is one of those. I will link the patch notes in the description of the video below. Now to get into the build, kicking it off with our weapon, and that is going to be the Kumawink SMG. Kumawink has a 25% chance to trigger an AoE bounce, hitting up to 3 targets. Bounce always triggers a rebound on hit, dealing 100% of the bounce damage. After reload, bounce trigger count +1 for 6 seconds. Effect is removed after switching weapons. Kumawink also grants plus 30% damage to bounce. We will be using the heavy style magazine calibration for 60% extra magazine capacity at the cost of reload speed. You will want double crit rate on your calibration as well. Your Kumawink accessories will be the small break muzzle, compact reflex sight, tactical laser sight, and weighted SMG magazine. You will want to mod your Kumawink with the Bunce Rampage Violent mod. The more selectable targets Bunce has, the higher the bounce damage, up to 45%, 15% per target. This pairs perfectly with our key armor piece, and that is going to be the Tattoo Pants. Bunce can hit allies with a 70% chance to refill 1 bullet. We will be pairing these pants with machine gun turrets, and yes, they count as allies. Moving on to our gear set, and we will be stacking crit rate and crit damage, so you will want to use 4 pieces of the Lone Wolf gear set. 4 pieces of Lone Wolf grants 10% magazine capacity, 5% crit rate, and 3 pieces get 1 stack of Lone Shadow every 2 weapon crit hits. Lone Shadow grants plus 6% crit damage for 30 seconds and can stack up to 8 times. And lastly, 4 pieces increases your max Lone Shadow stacks to 10 and grants plus 8% crit rate for 2 seconds after reloading. With our 1 remaining gear piece, we are going to use 1 piece of the Bastille gear set for 10% increased weapon damage when HP is above 70%. Now that all of our gear is set, let's mod it, starting with our helmet, and that is going to be Momentum Up Violent for a plus 10% fire rate for the top half of the mag and plus 30% weapon damage for the bottom half of the mag. Mask mod will be Break Bounce Bounce. When a bullet hits an enemy above 50% HP, the bullet's final damage plus 25%. Crit Boost Violent for the Gloves mod for plus 15% crit rate. Moving on to the shoes, and that will be Covered Advanced Violent, taking no damage for 4 seconds, grants plus 20% to melee, status, and weapon damage for 30 seconds. Pants will be Deadshot Violent. Each crit hit by non-melee weapons grants plus 5% crit damage up to 45%. The effect is reset when reloading. And lastly, as always, your chest mod will be a blue mod to squeeze out the most damage, and that will be the Crit Damage Enhancement Violent mod for plus 2% crit rate and plus 12% crit damage. We are using the Violent variants on all of these mods so that our main substat will be for crit damage. Other stats to go for will be weapon damage, damage to great ones, and magazine capacity. Now it's time to get into the extras that will have you squeezing out the most DPS as possible. Your main thing you are going to want to utilize with this build is the portable machine gun turrets. You will want to pair your turrets with the new Shadow Shift turret specialization. Shadow Shift makes it so that your portable turret mirrors the attribute and effects of the weapon currently held by the player. Turret is now reusable up to 5 times. The main thing to note about the Shadow Turret is you can only have 1 out at a time. So in order to have multiple turrets out, which you want to drop one right next to yourself at the point where you plan on DPSing from. You will then throw 2 more turrets far away from you on each side of your boss. The turret you drop next to you will be your Shadow Turret, while the 2 you threw away from you will be regular turrets, keeping all 3 up at the same time. Your secondary weapon will be the Wildfire Pistol, used for priming targets so that they take more damage. You will want to mod your Wildfire with Vulnerability Amplifier mod so that the bullseye effect adds 8% to vulnerability. Your Wildfire calibration will be the Rapid Shot Double Weak Spot, and you will want to use accuracy boosting accessories. Your melee weapon will be the Long Axe so that you can slam it on the ground prior to DPSing to proc Fortress Warfare and increase your damage output. Your deviation for this build will be the Lone Wolf's Whisper so that targets the dog attacks will receive increased weapon damage. The best in slot ammo for this build will be the Tungsten AP SMG ammo made with electronic parts to increase your bounce damage the most, and your food buff will be either mixed fried hot dog for a 20% damage buff against targets marked with bullseye, or crumbly bread for a 25% buff to all weapon damage. And as always, I will toss the CRADLE setup in the description of the video below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. See you next time.